Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Let me remove that from the screen. There we go. Greetings. Welcome back to the SHEDcast, broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook. And beyond that, I've got nothing else in my head to say. Apart from we've got some wonderful guests with us today. Let me bump them straight in. We've got Alan and we've got Dave. Good afternoon, boys.
Afternoon.
Can you hear us all right, Dave?
Yes, I can. Fine, thank you.
Excellent. Welcome. I haven't introduced these two gents yet because what our viewers don't know is that about 30 seconds before we started, Dave was not yet connected and it was all a bit of a panic. So we've not met each other. So can I introduce you? Alan, this is Dave. Dave, this is Alan.
All right, Dave.
Hello, Alan. Pleased to meet you.
And you.
Fantastic. Now, I'm hoping you're going to be generous to us as guests and generous to us as viewers because this has all come around really fast this week. You know how we're all in isolation because of COVID-19 and how we're all supposed to be kicking back at home and taking it easy. Yeah, well, no, that's not happening right now for me. We started the SHEDcast 3 weeks ago, and it was only a few days before we started the SHEDcast that we'd discovered this online SHEDcasting technology called StreamYard. Plug for StreamYard. It's super simple, super reliable, really, really handy.
Is it free?
It is. They have a free level. Good question, Alan. There is a free level which has sort of limits on it, like you can only put. Let me show you. You can only put their duck in the corner.
All right.
Top right hand corner. But we've got the Men's Shed logo up there. You know, the Guernsey Men's Shed logo, as it happens. And there's other limits, like you can only stream live for 20 hours a week or something like that, which for most people is probably enough. But they've been incredibly kind, knowing what we're doing, how we're trying to bring now isolated shedders together in some form. They've given us a month free trial and they've given us a discount on the annual subscription. So it is cheaper than it could be, and it's not terribly expensive. So I think it's well worth making use of this so that we can reach people, really. So that's the thing. So yeah, we've only just got Dave rocked in, and everything around here is going mad. I'm going to start by telling you something that I've been working on, not on my own, not exclusively. I can't take much credit for this. But there is an initiative in Guernsey with lots of people who have 3D printers trying to print headbands on their 3D printer for a face visor. And in fact, I was thinking before I started this afternoon that I would join the stream whilst wearing one of our face shields. Let me just put that back in there. Now, this isn't what we're 3D printing because I don't have a completed one of those, but there we go. This is something we're also working on as a few guys from Makerspace in Guernsey. The idea is this is just made out of a sheet of what is effectively photocopier acetate, and we can cut it on either a laser cutter, but it mushes out brown smoke all over the place, or on a vinyl cutter. And somebody's donated us a vinyl cutter. I've got it right alongside me, and I'm just trying to work out how on earth that works and what it can and can't do for us. So we're making these ultralight ones, which hopefully we can get out to service providers, shops and care homes and stuff like that. But then we're also 3D printing some much heavier duty ones that are certified, if you will, or approved for use at the hospital and in care homes. So we're working on that. We've got a couple of Facebook users. Let me just bump this in. Stuart. Let's show that again. Stuart, hello, fellows. And with a name like Ingruil, I'm guessing he's someone from Guernsey, because that's a pretty Guernsey name. I don't know that the Ingerills get around UK very much. And then just above that, we've got hi Marcel, Mick Arthur from Ramshed Ramsey here. How's it going? It is going well. Live long and keep yourself isolated. Now, just as a note there, it says
I'll drink to that.
it says Facebook user, and there's no little picture. So Mick Arthur, would you, just above on the Facebook post, there's a little link that says something like, in fact, we can bump that in. I'll ask JP to bump that in for us. There's a ticker at the bottom that says go to streamyard.com/Facebook, and then allow it to use your name and profile picture, and then we get to see who it is. So, for example, there, look, there's the link at the bottom. So if I pull up Stuart Ingerills, we get his profile picture, and we get his name. And it's nice to be able to address you by name. Although, to be fair, yes, you did put Mick Arthur in the comments. So thank you, Mick. Brilliant. Welcome to the SHEDcast. Lovely to have you with us. So before we go any further, let me introduce you to JP, who is sat in the background here. I'm going to promote him. Let me bump myself back out of the way. There's JP scrolling in the background. As you can see, he's got some big light box behind him. But he's also equipped with my phone. Now, this is very experimental, so bear with me, everybody, Alan and David as well. And there's my dog and bone. So I'm going to unhook myself. Going. Hang on, I can turn myself off here, can't I? That's what I can do. So, what should be our volume? We've now got 3D printing. We don't need to use it properly. Yes, thank you. Great there, and there's a bit of an echo on the iMac, but we'll not worry about that. It's all very complicated. So, welcome to what should be our dining room. JP has a little 3D printer, and he's had that for quite a few years, but it's only got an 8 centimeter square or cubed bed. So only small things can happen on that. We are printing these headbands, and here's one I made earlier. No. So the idea is that then onto these pips at the front, a large sheet of sort of 1/2 mil PET plastic, like a lemonade bottle, gets popped onto the holes, onto the pegs, and then a piece of elastic around the back, or rubber band, and that's relatively comfortable. Now, this has been developed by a guy called Joe. Lucy, I think it's Czechoslovakia or Czech Republic now. Showing my age, Czech Republic, not allowed to say Czechoslovakia anymore. Joseph Prusa makes, and he's well known in the 3D printing community as a fellow. He came up with this design in the Czech Republic and has been working with their health services to prove for usages, and that has an easy share the files so that anyone can do this. Now we've got our have enough face sheet out to all people who do 3D printing in the island to join the party. JP's little printer, not big enough. However, we've got a couple guys the network who for either or for more than 6 hours a day. So we've got a guy, Dave, who has lent us his FL Sun. Delta is this clever here. It's really mind-blowing how it works. So we've got 2 of So I've got to do a little wave on that to get. Then another guy, Adrian, part of the Makerspace team, Team Maker 2, and my beds are empty and they're not running. So I figured they've just finished. So what we're going to put them up. So let's come down here. The print finished. You can remove it. Go. This is rather cool, isn't it? Doing it live. Of course, something's going to go wrong, isn't it? Right, there's our COVID-19 headband. It's initializing itself. And now what it's going to do is it's going to, like just a piece of mirror, there was a heater. It's going to heat up the bed, and that helps the plastic when it gets pre-melted onto the glass bed. That helps the plastic and stay there. Because that first layer is your, just like any house, it's your foundation. You need to be really well adhered. I'm just going to go into the settings here. I'm going to change the temperature. Come and have a look down. And the build plate temperature is set, and you can see it's warming up 30 degrees at the moment. What I can do while she's looking, boost this full screen. If I can just, there we go. So then people can see it a little bit better. So that's coming up 34 degrees. We'll give that a minute to warm. Well, we don't have to do that itself. And let's have a look at this one over here on the FL Sun. Go through the menus. Print menu. Go pages folder. And PLA version 1. PLA is the type of plastic. It's a stands for polylactic acid, and it's made very often plant starches of tapping thing. So the bed temperature on this machine is set for 40 degrees, but we've been getting such good results on the Ultimaker at 60 degrees. I'm overriding this one now, so temperature up to 60 rather than 40. So let's go preheat, tell it to look at the bed, and then see if we can nudge that up. 6 degrees. Fingers crossed, that's all ready to go. That's heating up the nozzle. That's called the extruder, or the hot end. Let's just have a look about 3D printers in general, how they work. For those of you who have not tinkered with 3D printers, effectively it's like a hot glue gun. And if you don't know what a hot glue gun is, then I pity you and you really need to get, as soon as the shops are open, get down and buy a hot glue gun. It melts plastic, heats it up, melts it, squirts it out and sticks stuff together. Well, that's effectively what's going on here. But what I've just, this hasn't got enough filament on standby. I'll have to come back to that later. What this tells me before it starts is that it's going to need 5.7 meters of this 3mm filament to make one headband. The problem I've got right now is that this spool's just finished, and I don't think this is 5.7 meters. Let's stretch it, see if it'll. No, that's going to work, is it? Right, and I'll come to that while the other guys are talking, and we'll have to change the filament on this. I don't want to do that live on this occasion because I'm not used to using this printer, and I've been told it's got a few little quirks that you need to know. So let's go back to the FL Sun. FL Sun is now lowering the hot end, and very soon it's going to start. The bed is up 60 degrees. The extruder temperature will be at around 220. It's currently running at about 226 degrees, and it'll keep it around there. And then very soon you'll start to see the print plastic squirted out onto the bed. There she goes. I hope you can see that okay. It's not particularly steady, stable video, but you saw it here. In the next 24 hours, that headband will be bagged up, cleaned, sterilised, bagged up, taken to one of our team. There's a couple of girls that are collating them, putting the visors on that have been cut somewhere else on a laser cutter, and then they will be distributed either to the hospital or to some care homes. Sadly, the news this week is that we've had COVID-19 in one of our care homes, and I just heard from someone just before that they're really desperate for staff, particularly to have personal protection equipment, PPE. So we're doing everything we can to roll these out. So far, we've delivered, I think it's around 150 to the hospital, and that's enough for them to be getting on with for the moment. So we're able to start diving the headbands, face shields off here. And there's been sadly one somehow very real now. People are starting to realise that it really is here. It's not just people having a rough time, it's actually getting serious. And to be fair, for all the people who say a lot of people recover from it, that is true. But that's often the case that they have treatment as well that can recover from it. So whatever we can do to support our healthcare professionals, we'll try and do. At the moment, everyone is in charge. Turn this off. I've just realised I haven't turned it off. I bought that. Bought yet. Printing. Yeah, anything we can do to support, we can. A lot of guys with the printers are providing their own filament free of charge, and then there is a locally who sells 3D printers, and they yesterday provided a whole couple of wheelbarrow loads of filament free of charge, which is really great. We're really so there you go. This is the print farm of borrowed printers. Right, thank you, JP. I will.
And now
I'm back over here. Hello, Alan. Hello, David.
Yeah, that was really
Sorry,
interesting.
Just leaving you. David, we've not played with 3D printing at the shed, etc. yet. We're not quite set up for that yet. We're still renovating, but is 3D printing something that's on your to-do list?
I haven't really thought about it from a technical point of view. Unless it's fairly simple, it's going to be beyond me. I'm afraid. I'm not very IT
Yeah, that's
orientated. I think I was born a bit. I was born a bit too early for that. But in general, I like to learn other new things, and it's always good. And that's what part of the shed is about. Is getting experience from other people and your experiences as well, which makes it really an interesting place to go to.
Absolutely, yeah. Alan, is that something that your shed has tinkered with at all?
not me personally, although I'd love to. I at the moment find it's the cost that is a bit prohibitive. However, if we can get funding, we would certainly want to go into it. However, one of our members and our trustee is a chap called Paul, who came to us via South Africa, Australia, America, and then back to Yorkshire. He's into all things microelectronic, assistive devices, anything to do with 3D printing, laser etching. So he's going to be our font of all knowledge.
Check out some captions, David. JP.
he's going to be our font of all knowledge for things 3D. He has a 3D print at the moment, but we don't have what you would call a clean craft area as yet. We have been given a 20-foot container to add to our 2 existing ones, which is our workshop. And we're going to have that as our clean crafts area. So it'll be the ideal place to set up some 3D printing. So can't wait. And I think what you're doing is wonderful. Absolutely, commendable.
Well,
just as a matter of interest, how much is a setup like that FL Sun?
To be absolutely honest, I don't know how much the FL Suns are. Commonly, that sort of size is somewhere probably between sort of £300 and £600. I'm spitballing there.
All right.
If you go for something that's really quite refined, something like the Maker, I know when Adrian bought that, it was, I think, about £1,500. They're probably more like 1,000 now, but I'm not on top of prices, so don't quote me.
No.
You can pick up printers now for sort of £200 or £300 very easily.
They
are pretty capable.
The
one we got for JP, sorry, cutting you off, but the one we got for JP, 2-3 years ago now. In fact, no, that was for his 9th birthday. That's almost 6 years ago. Yikes! That one, it's called a Fabricator Mini. They don't make that one anymore. They do a slightly better one. That was £120, £140, something like that. Mm-hmm. So that's why we went for that, because it was a great entry point.
I think that's the case, isn't it?
And that's been really worth having. But of course, a project like this requires a bigger bed, and that's
exactly
something we don't have.
Very good, very good.
Thanks, JP. I don't know if we've posted these up, but Neil Wilkie, who was with us last week, Mr. Cookery, Mr. Very Passionate Cookery, is commenting and joining us from Facebook. Hi, Neil. Glad to have you with us. A Facebook user says, "Hi, just found you." Oh, that's nice. If you're anonymous Facebook user, the reason I growl is because unless you click the link above this video that says streamyard.com/Facebook, click on that, follow what it says, and allow Streambook to use your Facebook name and picture. Otherwise, we don't know who you are. Case in point, we had a Facebook user saying, "Hi, Mick Arthur from Ramshed Ramsey." Well, now look, he says, he's obviously taken my advice. Thank you, Mick Arthur. And we now know what you look like. Right, get him. It's Mick here again. Am I with you, or I am with you? You are. I think we can agree that you just are. So, Mick, welcome to the party. Right, it's all just crazy. So the next thing we're being asked for as a team, and I say team, it's a huge crowd. I don't know if we've got like 20 or 30 people running out prints. One guy yesterday had done something like 86 prints so far. I don't know if you caught the little 5-bar gates on the piece of tape that I've got on the side of the machines there. Every time I finish a print, I'm putting a little mark. So both of those machines now have done 7 prints, and they just started yesterday. The other thing we're getting asked for, as I started saying, was face masks. That's a massive problem. I've been phoning around building supply companies, and I've spoken to 2 asbestos companies this morning, and both of whom, and all the businesses that I've spoken to, there are no more what are called FFP3 masks. That's these strap-on sort of disposable masks, the papery ones. There are no more for sale in the island. And speaking to the asbestos handling guys, well, for a start, they don't use them because they normally use proper big respirators, but they keep some. They've either given them out already, or they're just not available. They've been asked for the last 2 or 3 weeks, it turns out, of course, but their supply chain through UK and Europe and even further afield, has been no masks. Because, of course, most stuff comes from China. But, of course, because it started in China, there's no production coming out of China because they've all been on lockdown. Somebody yesterday found a source of masks from Shanghai. They were double the normal price, which on one hand is fine, just pay the money and get on with it. But it's also going to take probably at least a couple of weeks to get here. It might still be worth buying them, but they're talking minimum order quantities of sort of 10,000 units. So it gets very expensive very quickly, and I'm not in the position to take that decision, and I don't know people that are at the moment. So that'll be up to the health department. So we're working on face masks that are effective, and there's a lot of misinformation around about, whether you put a piece of hanky over your face or whatever. It's a bit of a worry that some people are trying any old piece of cloth with the argument that it's better than nothing. The downside is that if you give people a false sense of security, they're actually exposing themselves more than they should be. So we're treading carefully on that one. But we've got some things in plan around the back, and we're working on it. So hopefully we can get something up and running soon. Now, Andy Ryland has just chipped in saying, you have mentioned the cost of a 3D printer machines. Wondering what the costs of the materials are. That's a good question, Andy. We are printing with PLA, as I mentioned, polylactic acid, that sort of bio-based print filament. A couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I was able to get a kilogram, a spool. I don't know if I've got a spool. Here we go. Yes, there's one. This one actually comes from Prusa, which is what I mentioned before, the guy who designed this particular design of headband. So that comes on a spool like that. It's 1 kilogram in weight. A few years ago, you could pick up sort of no-brand versions of that for about £10. But now they're, and not just because of COVID at all, but commonly there are more like £20, £25. And then there's lots of other materials. So one of the materials that's been recommended to make these headbands is stuff called PETG. Don't ask me what the PET stands for, but it's like polyester, and the G stands for glycol. That's the only bit I can remember. But it's what drinks bottles are made out of, the clear PET plastic. I'm not sure about the cost, Andy. I'm afraid I can't chip in on that one. I think they're probably a little bit more expensive than the common PLA, but they're quite a lot stronger. They don't absorb moisture over time, which can be a problem when you come to print, because then at 220-something degrees, that water boils off and it pops as it comes through the extruder, and that can add sort of odd deformations and blowouts on the surface of the plastic. So PLA is okay, but it has its drawbacks. And of course, you can get into really fancy filaments like TPU, a flexible filament, and there's all sorts of different types, but they are more specialist and more expensive. This is able to be printed with PLA, which is probably about the cheapest bog standard print filament, and that's good enough. Let's get them out the door quick as we can. So, sorry, I can't answer your question any more specifically, but you're talking probably £20 a kilo. Now, that would be, I think, if I remember rightly, 300 meters at a diameter of 1.75 millimeters, which is what the tall printer there is using, the FL Sun. That equates to about 330 meters on a reel. In fact, it might say on here, no, it doesn't. Oh, it's a nice pearlescent red one, that. I quite fancy that one. And this headband is using 5.7 meters approximately. So I'll leave you to do the maths on what that actually costs. But it's pretty much pence, isn't it? It's not an expensive item. And in terms of speed, among the different printers, they've all got different characteristics and different settings. These are currently currently printing at around 2 to 2.5 hours. The Ultimaker's on the 2 hour mark. It's because it's so stiff, you can run it quite fast. Some people are getting that down to sort of hour and 45, hour and 30. But then other people are finding they can't push their printer faster than taking about 5 hours to print a headband, which is quite a long time. But if you're able to walk away for 5 hours and just let it do its thing, you are still chucking out headbands and face shields, so it's worth doing. That's probably enough jibber jabber about 3D printing, don't you agree?
It has just raised a point though, and that is we're experimenting with recycling bottle tops and milk bottles and things, and producing pen blanks and various other things. It does beg the question whether a mold could be made of a headband and actually use recycled milk bottles and bottle tops.
Yes,
it's something that I think we could probably look at that, but we'd probably need a headband to make a mold from, or something of the sort. But it's certainly worth looking into. By the way, cool. Andy Ryland, he's the chap that's employed by Yorkshire First, Community First Yorkshire, and he's the chap that introduced us to Cliff Castle, as his remit is to help guys start sheds.
Great.
So he's been involved in quite a number around the Yorkshire area, setting sheds up. The latest one being about 4 or 5 miles from Keighley in Denham. Right. Unfortunately, they were just getting going and they've had to temporarily close down. But he's a good guy. Good guy.
Great. Thanks, Alan, and thanks, Andy, for joining us. Alan, you're talking about plastics? Have you come across the project called Precious Plastics?
No.
I highly recommend. They've been going for quite a few years. Dave Huckins, I think he's either French or Dutch. He'll shoot me if I get it wrong, but it doesn't matter. He is the guy. Dave Huckins is the guy behind it, but there's a huge team, and they've been going for quite a few years. So they're on their 4th series of machines to do cleaning, shredding of plastics, categorization of plastics, extrusion, making sheets. So much like you're talking about, and they've got homebrew plans, open source, for making low volume extruders and injection molding machines.
All right, that's worth looking at.
Yeah, totally. I can't remember exactly if it's preciousplastics.com or whatever, but if you do a search for Precious Plastics, and I know that in the last month or two they've just finished up an intensive year of redeveloping all of their machines to what they call Series 4 or version 4. And there's loads of information and a whole community worldwide that is keying into their machines. So there's likely something there that you can draw on.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing we've talked about injection molding. There's a couple of companies over here that do injection molding. The downside at the moment is that the time and expense of making the molds to do it, let's say properly, you're talking milled out metal molds, aluminium, possibly steel, and that's a very expensive process and time consuming, and the design and So it's doable, but it's slow. Whereas with 3D printers, it's instantly doable. Okay, it's slow, but when you've got 30 printers chucking out half a dozen or 10 a day, you're certainly generating hundreds quite quickly.
And is the Prosser program to do it, is that a free download?
Yes, it is.
Did you purchase it off him? It is a free,
Yeah, he's made it completely available on his Prusa website. Absolutely brilliant. And there are lots of other designs, to be fair, and we've looked at a few others. This is the one that's been approved for use in I was going to say it, in the Czech Republic, in their hospitals, and that instantly gave it a bit of credibility. But it's been checked out, for example, by the Guernsey Hospital, and they've agreed, yes, this is good enough strength-wise, and it's good enough design. It's got an air gap at the top, and it'll hold the sheet firmly, and it's sterilizable. It can be washed with soapy and disinfectant-y water and all that, and reused and reused and reused. That was one of our initial concerns. Was it's all very well printing these things. They take a few hours, and they cost a little bit. But if they're single use, is this a good idea? Is this the right solution if they were single use, like use it for half a day and dump it? But the great news is that they are able to clean them, so they can be reused. So it's not sort of a complete waste. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very good.
Well, not much credit sits here. I'm just involved. It's a
We're all
massive team. Yeah.
It's always a team effort.
Yeah, it's really, there's a lot of strength in that, so it's really, really good. So let's, unless we get more questions along the way, which we can answer, let's dive into some other stuff. Alan, can I put you on hold, please?
Yeah, put it.
Stick around in the green room. Which on my screen, there's a bit that they call it the green room, but it's not green. And I don't know. So we'll catch you later, Alan.
Okay.
Doodly for now. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, thank you.
Excellent. Now, if I can introduce you very briefly, Dave is one of our Guernsey shedders and has been involved in the shed for, what, probably about a year, I suppose, Dave? Is that about right?
More than that, yeah.
Bit more, okay. I lose track. And Dave has got a wood-turning lathe at home. And in fact, Stuart posed the question just before via Facebook, is that Dave a fellow Sarnia wood-turner? For the sake of non-Guernsey people.
I was going to ask the same question because I know Stuart.
There you go. I recognised it was Stuart by his cartoon goatee profile picture. So nice to have you with us, Stuart. And for those who are not Guernsey savvy, Sarnia is one of the old Roman names, I think, for Guernsey. And that's common knowledge that everyone knows it's called Sarnia. There are Sarnia this and Sarnia that, like a lot of counties and what have you that. But it's not long come to be sort of very public knowledge that that's not the only old Roman name for Guernsey, that there are maps and documents in the archives where it was called Lycia, L-I-S-I-A, Lycia. But everyone sort of, well, our national song is called Sarnia Cherie, Gem of the Sea. So everyone knows Sarnia. Bit of a twist in the tail now that we start calling it Lycia. Don't know what's going to happen there. What's your thoughts on that, Dave? Do you like this sort of Lycia thing? Some people don't even like it.
Yeah, I can tolerate it. I'm not a great having not lived in Guernsey all my life. I sort of not fully Guernsey. I don't reckon, although my name is absolutely Guernsey.
Yes, absolutely, very.
My parents were born here, but I lived in England for most of my life, really.
Okay, right.
So I'm not really into.
What you're saying is you don't care.
I take it or leave it.
Fair enough. That's very diplomatic. Hi, Lee. Hi, you're staying at home. I can tell by your profile picture. Hi, Lee. Nice to have you with us. So let me just think. What do I want to ask you? I want to ask you, how did you get into wood turning? You've come from an electric background. You're an electrician by trade, and then sort of into business management, as far as I understand it. But how did you get into wood turning? Is that something you've been doing for long?
No, I worked in the electrical industry and mechanical industry, but I've always been interested in wood and making things, even from when I was very young. And so when I retired, I felt I needed something that would occupy me on the wet, rainy days when my wife hadn't got a job for me to do. And so I decided that I'd buy a wood turning lathe, which I did. And I think I probably did things the wrong way round because I bought the wood turning lathe before I decided to join the wood turning club. And I think really on reflection, I should have really joined the club first and then decided what lathe I wanted and so on and so forth. Because the wood turning club, the members are very helpful and and there's a wide range of experience in the club, and and so you benefit really from getting that experience in before you spend lots of money going out buying things.
So, do you
And
think it would
so
have changed your
I
purchase?
did it the wrong way round. Sorry.
Would it have changed your purchasing decision then?
It may have done, yes, because would have had. I could have seen what other people use and whether they would have you know different types of lathe, and I was sort of tended to get stuck on one particular type of lathe, and I didn't really go through the whole hundreds of different types of lathes there were. So I sort of focused on one and got that rather than actually getting a proper knowledge of what I wanted. Having said that, the lathe I got, I was quite happy with, and so all in all, it's been a good purchase. But
Yeah.
I think that joining the clubs is probably a lot more beneficial if you're going to do something like wood turning or whatever. Joining the club is the ideal way to go about it because, as I say, there's so much experience in the clubs.
Yeah, that's a good bit of advice.
And they're not afraid to share that with you, and that's the thing. And, but getting into the wood turning, it took me a little while to, not the word isn't pluck up courage, but to sort of think to myself, do I really want to do that? And but once I did join, but to be honest, I went to a demonstration that the woodturners were holding at the RAF club, and I went to demonstration, and really it was from there that I decided that I'd like to join the club and go on from there, and that's what I did. So I've been doing it for about 7 years now, wood turning, and I thoroughly enjoy it, and it's got a lot of good things about it because you can make nice things. B, you've got plenty of presents to give to people, and so you get a lot of enjoyment out of it because when you're doing wood turning, you're sort of lost in that mold, or for a couple of hours or whatever, and you're not thinking about anything else. All your concentration is on your wood turning and so on. So yes, I enjoy it a lot.
That's cool. I obviously using a lathe can be dangerous, and I've always sort of had a perception that it would be a bit stressful. But what you're saying is that it's actually you just get absorbed in it, and it's very absorbing and relaxing. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. But you got to concentrate. You can't. It's a revolving machine, and you got to concentrate. You can't be looking elsewhere when you're presented a chisel to the wood or so on and so forth. So
Sure.
no, you've got to look. I find it relaxing, but you've got to concentrate on what you're doing. And Stuart, who is a excellent turner, he would know a lot about that. He's probably one of the best turners I've seen anyway for a long time. He turns out some magnificent stuff.
Gotcha. Would you like to recount, perhaps just for a moment, what the situation is with lathes at the shed?
Ah, right. Okay. Well, our lathe, we had a big. I can't remember the name of the lathe now. It's certainly got a bed that's about 5 foot long, and
It's a green one. Yeah.
the green one, yeah, the big green one. And what happened? One of our members was using it, and suddenly the tone of the motor changed, and before it was switched off, it burned. The motor burned out. And as a consequence of that motor burning out, we tried locally to get it repaired, and found that there was nobody in Guernsey or Jersey or anywhere in the Channel Islands to get it repaired. And to cut a long story short, we had to send it over to the UK to be rewound. And I've now got that motor back, and it's in my garage at the moment because of the lockdown. Because of the lockdown, we're not able to actually go out and put the motor back into place. But it is here, and the people who rewound it sent all the old burned out wine back with it to prove it was out. And the old bearings, where they changed the bearings, and they put all the old bearings back, and so on and so forth. So that's sitting in my garage, waiting to be fitted when we can get out and do things again.
That's great.
I'm looking forward to that.
Thanks for organising.
We also spent a lot of time. I'm sorry.
Thanks for organising all of that. Much appreciated. And a shout has to go out. We can do this publicly to Spinny Rewinds. Are they called?
Spinny Rewinds, yes. In Peterborough, who did an excellent job. Yeah. Good. And so we're waiting to put it back in the machine and see how it works. But this time we're going to put some protection on it so that we don't have this problem with burning out this motor again, because it's an expensive thing to happen, and it's just it's just an odd thing that happens sometimes. These things happen, but there's not much you can do about it. But at least this time we're going to protect it properly, and it'll trip out before it burns out, which is what we want to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. There was no protection on it before, so once something started failing, it was a runaway failure. So this happened in December, and then in January we'd been given another benchtop lathe from one of our shedders, and in January a few chaps started getting that up and running, only to have that burn out as well. So we were very close to the shed to saying, right, that's it, no more lathes. That's right out. Stop that. But we've not long ago had a donation again of a similar design to this benchtop lathe. The threads for the chuck threads were different. So the motor has been taken out of this latest one, the red one, to go into the blue one, the one that burnt out. Right. So hopefully that's, well, actually, when we get back up at the shed, Dave, it needs your electrical skills to wire up the switch again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the next little. There's a list of jobs for you at the shed, Dave.
Yeah, thanks very much for that.
So we're getting there.
Yeah,
What we
yeah.
quite
So
like now is.
hopefully,
Sorry, there's quite a lag. What we quite like now is that we've got the big one that is big freestanding thing. It's got a swivelly head, so you could turn massive. Well, yeah, 3-foot bowls on it if you really had a death wish. So there's that one. There's the bench top one that's soon to be up and running. What we quite like to find now is a really quite small one, something that we can put on a little table, and it's something you can sit down to use, be that on a chair, or a wheelchair user can use it, and turn out pen blanks and small bowls and egg cups and doodly wotsits and honey spoons and all that sort of stuff. That would be something small and much safer. That would suit people sitting down.
yeah, it's a mini lathe which will be really an asset because it can be moved about as well easily, and that's so with them. Once you have a big lathe like the one we've got, the green one, that's going to be put in place, and you're never going to move it again, are you? Because it's so heavy. So it's it's nice to have sometimes a mobile type of lathe. I know my one we used a couple of times on for different things, for auctions and so on and so forth, and that's worked very very well. But because we're able to, it's a MIDI lathe, so we're able to carry it around and so on, so it's fine. Yep. But as going back to wood turning, I enjoy the whole thing of wood turning, the feel of the wood and the way it turns. Some of it turns really nicely. Other times, other things, knots and other bad grain and so on make it hard to turn something nice. But in general, as long as you've got nice sharp tools, then it usually works out very well. Sharpening the tools, of course, is one of the issues.
I don't know what happens on the computer, but I got kicked out. I thought you got kicked out first, and then it turned out I got kicked out. And, well, I'm sort of back online, I think. But I've jumped onto the other computer with JP. Printer's still running in the background. Bear with me just a tick. I was going to suggest we go for a tea and wee break anyway. So let's do that now. Let's bump in for a tea and wee break. I can't hear you at the moment. There's something going wrong with that as well. It's all gone a bit Pete Tong, I think is the expression. Or there's a local musician called Paul Tong, so it's all gone a bit Paul Tongs. I can't hear anything. Whatever. We'll leave it at that for the minute. Everybody, take a short 5 to 10 or 15-minute break. We'll see you back here in half an hour. Get yourself a brew and go for a wee while the kettle's boiling. We'll see you in a mo. Sorry about that. It's all a bit frantic around here. Whilst the cast has been on, I've had someone coming round to pick up asbestos grade vacuum bags, quite large ones, because they're part of a team trying to make face masks, and they're using asbestos grade filter material from vacuum bags to. Just as a caveat, if anyone's listening, watching, please don't just try and use Hoover bags. There are guides online for just using Hoover bags. It's probably not a good idea because COVID is so tiny, it goes through a lot of filter materials. So the idea of putting a pair of socks or an old thong that you have kicking about, sticking that over your face, you'll look a bit of a tit, and it's not actually going to keep the virus out of you. So you've got to try and go for at least the masks that are rated as FFP3, which in America is known as N95. A lot of people are quoting, oh, an N95 mask. The European standard for that nugget of information is an FFP3. So sorry about all of that. I've got my brew. Let's bump Alan and Dave back into the stream. I'm feeling very patriotic today. I've got my Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee mug. So up the Queen. And you've got some buxom spring water or something like that. And what have you found to eat, Alan?
I've just had an apple.
Oh, very, very good.
This is Aldi Special, brewed in Yorkshire.
My treat for this afternoon is some dark mint chocolate.
Slimming World wouldn't want me to be eating chocolate.
No. Now, what have you found, Dave? Have you got yourself a brew and something nibbly? Dave, you there? No, he's froze, or he's silent, or he's something. I don't know what's happened to Dave, but we'll just let him freeze up there for a second. JP is a bit disgusted that I'm taking a whole chunk of the chocolate, but this coming from the boy who the other day raided the packet and took out like that much, half the packet. So
not in one bite.
No, not in one bite, you're right, but like in one day. So this is me as part of the shed car, kicking back and enjoying a little treat. Nobody deserves anything, but in reality, but I feel like I deserve a little bit of chocolate because it's been a bit mad. Right, I'm going to kick Dave out just for now. He's probably frozen up. So if he can still hear us, Dave, you might want to try and drop out of there and then follow that link back in and see if it gets you back in alive. I don't know. There's something going wrong at his end. And apologies again for the technical difficulties to everyone. Just before we stopped there, Dave froze up, goes black and spinning wheel thing, and then I froze up, and then I had to go and jump on the other machine, and but it's all okay now. So that's the first time using StreamYard that we've actually had a major outage technical problem like that. So well, we're doing quite well, I would say. So let's just have a look in the comments. Stuart Ingrell, we were talking about before, says, I find that the concentration drives all your worries from your mind for a while. That's in relation to wood turning. I can associate with that. Actually, when I was a youngster, I used to fly radio control model gliders, and I could stand out on the cliffs for a couple of hours. Obviously, you get the fresh air in your face, and that's all lovely. But because you're so focused on what you're doing, that when you finish, your mind is relaxed and empty. So I'm guessing it's a bit like that. You're so focused on it that everything else just falls away. So that's a nice feeling. Thank you for that, Stuart. Mystery Facebook user says, we can hear both of you. Whoops, sorry about that. Mystery Facebook user says, there's an echo. I don't know if there's... Mystery Facebook user says, there's an echo. Shall I do it again? Don't make me do it again.
No, I think you made the point.
Yeah, okay. And Lee Dusty Miller, do you have the tech to CAD design stuff at the shed so you can make the item to a design? Not at the shed at the moment. Obviously, we're still renovating. The men's shed is open. We opened it in November. But we've been renovating for 3 years, and we got to a point later last year that, okay, look, we've got decent toilets, we've got a reasonable electric supply distribution, we've got good tools, quite a few around. Sorry, you've said there's an echo. I know why, because I'm using the phone in the wrong device. Hopefully that sorts out the echo. Sorry about that, chaps. I was just saying about having CAD. Yeah, we sort of launched a shed in November because we had a minimum viable product. Kitchen's up and running, the toilets are up and running. We've got enough tools that people can do stuff. But in terms of doing CAD design and 3D printing and stuff, that will come in our clean room, as Alan's saying, that he's got a plan for a clean room at his shed. We've got that big plan as well. But of course, while we're still making a mess, computers and 3D printers floating around, you know. You weren't muted, and I was coming out of the speakers on the laptop, and there we go. Can you hear us all right, David? Or have you frozen up on us as well? Sorry, David. No, Alan. Alan.
Yeah, I am. I'm fine. I've been able to hear you, both of you all along. Good.
That's fine. I thought you'd fallen asleep on me for there. And David's back. Hello, David.
All right.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
Well done. Now that you're back, I'm gonna bump you off the screen though, however, because I want to have a chat with Alan. So we'll stick around, David. We'll see you a bit later. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. That got rid of him. We can talk about him now. Oh, I'm kidding. So let's start at the beginning. So first and foremost, thank you very much, Alan, for joining us on today's SHEDcast. And I have to stress that because for the benefit of the viewers, I only got in touch with Alan an hour ago, or just an hour before we started, because poor Dan, who was supposed to be on this afternoon's show, sent me a message saying, I'm going to bed, and he's got a shivers and cold fever and a packet of ginger nuts. And I think that was what clinched it for him. He's going to bed because he's not feeling well, but he had to do justice to a packet of ginger nuts. So he kind of bailed out at the last minute, which is a real shame. And Alan was another connection that I hadn't even yet tapped up. So Alan, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate you coming in at the last minute.
No problem.
Tell us, where are you? As a little Guernsey lad, I can navigate my way around the UK by sort of major cities, not so much small towns, or certainly not villages. So whereabouts are you, so that someone like me would know where you are?
Well, if you think of Leeds, and if you're going from Leeds up to the Dales and the Lakes, you would head from Leeds to Skipton, and Skipton is classed as the gateway to the Dales. We're actually a town in between the two. So we're about 8 miles south of Skipton. Okay. And it's a fairly big town. And I've been up here now for 31 years, having been moved up here by Magnet, the kitchen and joinery company. Yeah, sort of settled up here now, really.
Great. That's cool. I know roughly where you were. A few years ago, I was doing a project based out of Manchester, and we visited Leeds briefly. So I know, roughly where you are. Sounds like a nice part of the world to be in. What's the sort of population there?
Population of Keighley, off the top of my head, I would say is about 230,000, something like that. It's and the surrounding sort of villages.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Guernsey's 60-something thousand. So
I might have been exaggerating a little. I'm not really sure, but it's a big town.
It's not a million, and it's not a little village. Yeah.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Cool. Now, Kate. Ooh, I'm trying to remember. It's Hatton, is it? Kate
Thornton.
Hooked us up. Now, Kate, I'm sure we're going to meet her on the SHEDcast pretty soon. She is, I think, Shed Development Manager for the UK Men's Shed Association. And I was speaking to her the other day, and she said, "Oh, I know someone you should chat to." And she rattled off a few names, and you're the first one on my list. Could you tell us a little bit about your shed and your involvement in it, and what's so special about your shed?
Well, the first, I suppose, way to describe it is that I'm a member of Keighley Lions, which is part of Lions Clubs International. And as a lot of service organisations are, we're getting fewer in numbers and older. So myself and the president, Gordon Stowe, said that what we needed to do is recruit more members. And one way to do that was to get out and do more in the community. So as part of doing more in the community, we went up to a pop-up shed that as was, and it's now a small shed mixed group that meets on a Friday in Oakworth, a village just outside Keighley. And we started going up there with the intention of trying to recruit more members for Keighley Lions. However, while we were there, we got involved in the woodwork with the men, and I started teaching woodwork. The Lions decided that they would buy me, or buy us, 3 pieces of equipment: a tabletop lathe, a tabletop bandsaw, and a tabletop scroll saw. So we could go out and into the community and teach woodwork. So Gordon was teaching handcrafts and sharpening tools and things like that. And long story short, we started doing this at a couple of community centres. And then we met Andy Ryland, Community First Yorkshire, whose remit is to help set up men's sheds in the Yorkshire area. When we met him, he asked if we would be interested. Well, having always had an interest in woodwork, and both myself and Gordon having also been college lecturers, we said, yeah, why not? And he introduced us to Cliff Castle, which is in Keighley, and a beautiful park, a beautiful building, museum, and it is run by the Bradford Metropolitan District Council. So we were introduced and fell in love with the place straight away. And the first thing that struck us were there were 3 tanks with koi carp in them in a big greenhouse. But they were in very poor state and were not looking too healthy. Now, again, long story short, we met a chap called Alan who had suffered quite badly physically with diabetes-related injuries and hadn't been going out much at all. And he came up to the pop-up shed. Turns out he had a beautiful Japanese garden, or has a beautiful Japanese garden in his backyard. So we asked him if he would come down to the shed to advise us on these tanks. He was a bit reluctant to start with, but when he did come down, he checked the water, said it wasn't in very good condition. The fish were poorly, but rescuable. And the actual tanks were in a bad state of repair. But he then said, if I come down next week, then I will do this, we'll do that, we'll do the other. And consequently, he became a trustee and a member of the shed. And hence, I think you have a picture there of the finished result of the tanks as they are now.
Yeah, I'll bring that up. What a great story. Let me just...
Inspiration.
Yeah, I'm sharing the screen in, hopefully now.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, and that whole greenhouse, all down the left-hand side, was yucca plants. It turns out they were so overgrown, the leaves were dropping into the water, and the yucca leaves are poisonous to the koi. So we've actually changed it, got rid of them all, and a local charity called the Cellar Trust actually paved it all for us as part of their working in the community. And we then put the tables in, and it gives us an extra way of using the space. So we have the community space, and then the that picture there, by the way, is me doing a bandsaw box demonstration to Morley Women's Shed, which is in Leeds. Not a very good picture, I'm afraid, but it was really good. And we've been doing spoon carving courses, short courses, paying to help bring revenue into the shed. And these were works in progress. And that's various things we've been doing at the shed. The parks manager, who's also a member, he actually produced that. And this is a spoon carving demonstration to Harrogate Shed.
Great.
So yeah, we get out and about. Unfortunately, not at the moment.
Yeah.
And a lot of sheds have been to visit us as well. So this is raised bed planters we did as a project, community project. And the front line is 9 meters long. So it gives you an idea of scale.
Big.
This is a local community centre where we were teaching woodwork as well, in Bracken Bank.
Lovely.
And this picture is actually the original Butterfield family, with a few cutouts and a few reprobates sticking their head in. That's in our container workshop.
Bunch of fruitcakes, I don't know.
Yeah, this was the first group of the spoon carving. In the background on the notice board, you'll see a to-do list, and we've now got little projects up there that people have suggested. Great. And then people put their names on who want to be involved in those projects.
Okay, yeah, we're developing a similar thing. We've taken an 8x4 sheet of ply and sanded it and painted it and sanded it and painted it and put a blackboard paint over the top. And we're just starting to call that our job requests board.
Yeah, yeah.
Much the same, but 8 foot long.
Right.
We're not mucking about, you know.
No. This is the spoon carvers. The last day, one of the ladies who's a cake maker brought in the cake, and these 3 ladies here were also members of the local ukulele orchestra.
Great.
So they got the ukuleles out and gave us a bit of a tune at the end of the course.
You get live music and cake.
Oh, absolutely.
There is something to this having women in kids there.
It was chocolate brownie cake. But it did not taste like the chocolate brownie cake I remember from the late 60s. Don't know what's in that, but you have to have been around in the 60s to remember that.
Did your chocolate brownies have hash in by any chance?
Well, they tasted rather different, put it that way.
This is great. Just a related note, is your shed men only, or is it a unisex?
What it is, we didn't call it a men's shed on purpose. We called it a Lion's Den shed because we always had a plan to have at least mixed days or even specific ladies' days. Yep. So we open on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Tuesdays and Thursdays are men only. And the Wednesday and Wednesday evenings are mixed. Monday mornings we do our singing, and then Monday afternoons are free to do short courses.
That's great. That's cool.
This, by the way, went viral.
Health and safety.
This one went viral. This is Roy and John, members. This is mid-February, in between Kiara and Dennis, the Storms. The lady's roof had blown off her shed, and we went across to refit it and beef it up. So he's wearing shorts. I think it was the 14th of February. And rather than just put up the shed guys had been repairing a roof, we decided to make it into a Yorkshire north-south thing, which is big in this country. So what we did, we said, this is how men in Yorkshire repair sheds in mid-February in between 2 storms. If this had been down south, they'd have left it till summer and then got somebody from Yorkshire to fix it for them. And then the final line on it, the final line was, back to the shed and 3 cups of hot bovril.
Wonderful.
This is my passion. These are the bandsaw boxes. In America, they call them bandsaw boxes. I started doing them as geometric shapes. And then it developed, and people started sending me pictures of their animals, saying, "Could you do one of my sitting Labrador, for example? This one." I've done sitting elephants, horses' heads.
Very cute.
This is from my wife and I. We have dachshunds, and we've had them now for over 50 years. Not the same ones, I basically. It was her that started me doing the animal shapes, because she said, "Can you do a dachshund box?" So what I do is I do these, and I always include some hidden drawers.
I noticed that.
And I'm just finishing 2 Bichon freezes and another Labrador box, and I've got a sitting elephant box to finish as well. But
That's
what I'm
cute.
doing now is I'm teaching other people how to do them.
Great. I love the little the handle detail of the bone. That's really cute.
Yeah, and the ear pulls out, and that reveals a drawer and a hidden.
Nice.
This is a
Very
chap
cool.
from Harrogate Shed who came over to do a pen carving demonstration for us. So pen turning, should I say?
Okay. Yeah.
So he came over and he was doing this pen turning demonstration, and then in response to that, I went to theirs to do a spoon carving demonstration.
Nice.
So we're getting quite involved, and we were.
That's good.
The idea was to set up like a loose northern association, if you like, not separate to the men's shed, but like a little network to help each other out, you know.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It's one of the problems we have in Guernsey, and I'm sure there's a lot of other sheds. I was talking to a guy up in I'm going to shoot myself now. Scilly Isles, north of Scotland. Is that the Scillies? No, that's
yeah.
Oh,
No.
okay. Talking to a shedder up there the other day, and they have a similar, situation. They are very geographically isolated. So, there's 60,000 people on the island, and we're pretty self-sufficient in lots of ways. But these sorts of like this networking between sheds is something that we can't just pop up the road.
No, that's
half an hour in the car. We can't pop to another shed.
Yeah.
Getting across the channel is very expensive. So it's actually something like this, and be able to meet you online. It's actually really great to see and hear what other people are doing, what other sheds are up to. Of course, it's not quite the same relationship, but it's more connection than we would get just sitting on our own hands.
Yeah, true.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Well, the workshop that you're looking at there, that was actually purchased for us by Bradford Metropolitan District Council's public health team.
Nice.
They gave us the 13,000, and we then specified them and bought them locally. And they were delivered and fitted by the same company, a company called Portable Offices Limited, I think. And they've been so helpful, but they've also been helpful to other shed groups in the area who have got similar problems where they don't have the right accommodation or enough accommodation, but they have the land.
Gotcha.
So I mean, it was spec'd with natural light LED low voltage lighting.
Sweet.
It came with all the sockets fitted, all the insulation fitted, and including phone charging points as well, and a heater and extractor. So
Lovely.
I mean, we're delighted with it. Absolutely delighted. Yeah. A big shout out to Bradford Council, who've been very supportive.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. That's excellent. I'll leave the photographs because I think it goes off into a whole pile of other photographs that are sort of on another tangent. But a couple of comments that are coming in. Stuart Ingrell, Guernsey guy, part of the Woodturning Society or group. Fun fact, Alan, Keeley is my wife's maiden name. She's from Bradford.
It's actually pronounced Keithley.
Keithley?
Don't know why. Well, everybody who doesn't know says it's Keeley, and it looks like Keeley, but it's actually pronounced Keithley. But that's strange. I mean, having a maiden name Keithley and coming from Bradford, which is our main local city, if you like.
Sure. There you go. Weirdo. And I've got a message here from Dan Gamai, who should have been in your chair today.
All right.
Hello, all. I just woke up, he says.
Oh, no.
Bless him. He's woken up because the ginger nuts are wearing off, and he now needs more sugar. And he says, coming from loud and clear, great. And it's Shetland, by the way. Yeah, Shetland, not Scilly, because I thought the Scilly, they're off Cornwall, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dope.
So Shetland will be in a similar position to yourselves. They've got quite a vibrant community, but they are isolated from the mainland.
That's right. Yeah. Talking to, I don't know his name, but talking to the guy that was part of the Shed Happens radio show that goes out on a Wednesday morning on Froome FM from 10 till 12. I heartily big that up. And in fact, I'll stick up if you do a search for Shed Happens Froome and on Froome FM, then you'll get to that radio show. There's a recording there, and you can go back through their archive of shows for anyone that hasn't seen that. It's really, really good. But we were talking to him a few days ago, and he was talking about their sort of population density. They have a much bigger island. It's like 90 miles from one end to the other, but it's only 6 miles wide. So a round trip to the shop, he said it's either 30 or 45. I think it was 45 minutes round trip to the shop. Whereas for me, we're on a 25 square mile rock in the English Channel, and a round trip is walking 5 minutes either that way or 5 minutes that way, and sort of 5 minutes each way. And I've got 2 shops nearby, and so we're not as exposed and as rural as they are, but as being an isolated community, it's the same thing. We've got a few more comments coming in. Oh, look at that! I'm making it up as I go along. 60-mile round trip. Thanks, Dan. And he also says the ginger nuts wore off, but hot cross buns now kicking in.
Oh wow!
This is not funny, Dan. You're rubbing it in. It's not good. Having said that, I've still got my mint dark chocolate. I'm just quietly nibbling through. So my dark chocolate meat sees your ginger nuts. And I suppose you're raising me hot cross buns. And you've got LD water.
LD water. It's our Swimming World virtual weigh-in tonight. I've got to...
Yeah, right. And I just remembered I did prep another photograph here, Alan. This one. Do you want to tell us about this fella?
Yeah, this guy is called Freddie Riggs, but his stage name is Freddie Cool. And he is just such a character. He really is. And he does the Monday morning singing group. And he's teaching some of our guys how to play guitar. He's actually teaching me and a few others how to sing. I've always thought I couldn't sing, and he found a couple of songs that he reckons I can carry. So having a go at it. But that pose was just such a fantastic cover for our Shed Facebook page. It's just tells it all. It really does. He's a brilliant guy. So much fun.
Alan, you were telling me about the symbols and what have you that we see. That's a sort of what did you call it? Tell us a bit about the pond. The pond is on the right there. It's a little bit hard to see, but tell us a bit about that.
Well, all the panelling. Alan, the chap that's suffered quite a bit with injuries from diabetes, he wasn't physically able to do all the manual work there, but all the panels he designed or made at home, and he designed the back panel, and I did the sort of donkey work for him. But the Japanese lettering in the middle by the two koi ka, that actually does say the Lion's Den in Japanese.
Oh, cool.
But if you actually bring it back from Japanese to English, it says the Lion's Nest.
Okay.
So one way it's the Lion's Den. Coming back the other way, it's the Lion's Nest. But either way, we'll take
it. It's really cool. Like you say, it's a classic photograph, and I love the story both behind him and the pond and the panels. It's great.
Yeah. Sorry, you can still see behind him the old remnants of the yucca.
Yeah,
which we've now got rid of completely.
Right. Yeah. And is this then just used as a general socializing area?
Yeah. Well, the tables that we've got there now, which you showed in the other photo, they are for anybody to do jigsaws, play chess, do magic, whatever they want to do there, model making. But then in front of the tanks, the ponds, is our social area.
Okay. Very cool.
Very, very tranquil with the running water. Although at our age, it does mean we have more loo trips. The running water, hence,
Gotta go, gotta go.
That's it. No, it's a very tranquil area. It really is. And from what I understand, and I stand to be corrected, we are the only shed in the UK that actually has koi carp as part of the shed. Yeah,
okay. Very, very cool. I like it. I like it a lot. Where we are on the same site as another charitable project. They've got 2-acre greenhouse project called Edible Guernsey, and we are hoping that we'll get some space, to develop in there as well in due course with them, to create that sort of little water garden kind of solace area, which would be really splendid.
Yeah.
Well,
next to our main greenhouse with the social area in the tanks, we've got another greenhouse which is just horticulture. And then we've got our old woodwork shop, which we've kitted out now with a book library, a jigsaw library, and racking for works in progress. And then we've moved into our main 2 containers as our workshop. But we have been promised for free another 20-foot container from a local company who are rebuilding their factory. And that is going to become our clean craft area.
Great.
So we're really looking forward to getting that eventually. And what I'm doing basically is keeping the fish fed, keeping the plants watered, doing some little projects to share with other shed guys, but also doing small improvements to the site so that when we do get back, that's us. A chap from Hilker had just come down and donated some tools to us.
Oh, sweet.
A few of our guys there.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Just as you were talking, I was just taking a peek through the photos, and as you're talking again about your containers, this is what you're talking about.
That's how it arrived and was fitted up. It's 2 containers joined together, and it was delivered at 6:30 on the 11th of December.
Golly.
6:30 in the morning.
Oh, in the morning, even.
Yeah.
Oof, rough.
Yeah, it was bloody cold as well.
Okay, yeah.
Really cold. The little 3D reindeer there, that's if I teach somebody bandsaw, after an hour, if they're showing competence and confidence, I get them to do one of those, and it really boosts their confidence.
Excellent.
This chap had an hour's tuition, and he did a 3D reindeer.
Love it. That's really cute. Nice shape.
Yeah, it's just a little download off Google Images.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Fab. Alan, I think we're going to call time in just a moment. But what I've done is I've plugged up my phone. So I'm just going to go off headphones. Chuck that in there. Add me back again. And I must mute that because otherwise it's going to be talking to us all the way. And I thought just before we finish, we shall come and see how the 3D printer is doing.
That's very good.
And
so it's about
away there.
Just over halfway through.
Yeah, about halfway.
Look at the words on the side.
Yeah, it's even putting the Prusa.
Yeah, so he's about halfway, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
It is very, very cool.
Yeah.
So it's about halfway. It's about on the screen there. It says that it's done An hour and 25 minutes past, 26 minutes now. It tells you the Z height is at 10 millimeters, 10.6 millimeters. And it just tells you the bed temperature, extruder temperature 225. Bed temperature should still be at 60. Yep, so it's nice and toasty warm. And that'll be, I think it's about 2.5 hours on this machine. And then, as I mentioned before, I'll get the Ultimaker up and running again. What I need to do is sort out the filament. Boo, says Japes. I need to change the filament so we've got another spool. There's the spools up on top of the other ones. This one's really fancy because it's rainbow. So it means that as it prints, it sort of changes colour. And of course, as we were mentioning on our sort of team group chat yesterday, nobody is after a headset because of its colour, or this face shield because of its colour. However, give me a rainbow one any day. Someone's got, rainbow stuff's kicking around. Let's use it. So yeah, a bit cool. What we're going to try on this, obviously I've got to change the filament so that it's got enough filament, but what we're now going to try going into tonight is a stacked version. So instead of printing them singly, here's a single one, there is a way of changing the files so that you can put another one on top. Some of our guys are running doubles, and some of them are even running quad stacks. And then just the way that there's something clever about the way that they're printed. They snap apart really easily at that point. So it's a way of being able to walk away from the machine for 10 hours, or actually, depending on the setting, 8 hours. We're looking at doing 8 hours, and it'll print 4 of them rather than having to babysit the machine every 2 hours, which on one hand is okay because it's every 2 hours, but certainly overnight it'll be handy to be able to walk away and come back and have 4 in the morning. The downside, however, is if something on the print fails, it will extrude 4 quantities of filament, which is 5.7 meters on this machine. So it'll be a lot of filament gone to pot, and all of that time if all of them fail. So at least going one by one, if one fails, you've only perhaps wasted 2 hours before you spot it, maybe. And then if it's finished, you keep it and you do another one. And then if you keep it and you've got another one. So we're going to experiment with that overnight. We'll see what we can do. Whole pile of fun. Thanks, JP, for chucking in some of Dan's comments. Excellent. JP, can you kill this one off? And then can you bring in... you bring Alan back on the... I'll just... and jack me back in. There we go. Hopefully audio as well. Brilliant. So let me just stop this, otherwise the phone's going to carry on looping audio back to me. Just for the sake of everyone who has been watching the last couple of weeks, I've been working on, in my spare time, whatever that is, usually late at night, I've been working on this water sensor. And for anyone who was watching the last couple of weeks, I had a problem with the original moisture sensor in that it was just chucking out just really random values off the sensor. And if I put my hand around it, it's a capacitive sensor and it should have gone up. Sometimes it would go up and sometimes it would actually go down. Pretty weird. So I had 2 arrive in the post this week, hooray. And this is now sort of operable. So in a very Blue Peter way, here's one I made earlier. And this is where it all fails. If I can get the screen towards you. And I've been messing around with a bit of clever animation, so it looks like water. Oh, it's upside down for you. Let me turn it around. In front of the camera. There we go. Now I've set it to flash if it's too low. So next to the plant, it'll attract your attention, hopefully. But if I wrap my hand around it, up it comes. Now there's a bit of a glitch in the way that it is doing the whole scrolling thing. But obviously the moisture level will change very slowly on a plant. So I'm not too worried about that at the moment. It's a bug, and I've got ideas of how to get rid of that. But right now it's a proof of concept. So what I've got to do now, and I'll go down and it'll flash when it gets low to attract my attention. Once it gets below a certain threshold, there it goes, it's flashing away. So there you go. So it's coming, for those of you who've been following that project. That's enough for today. Dave in Guernsey, thank you ever so much for joining us and talking wood turning. What I realised we didn't do, and that's partly because I've just been so frantic this week, we didn't have any bowls to show. We didn't even have any photographs to show of you operating the machine. So I apologise for my lack of preparedness. But I hope everyone, including yourself, David, can forgive me based on all of that stuff happening over there.
No problem. I think you're doing a marvellous job with the head masks and some supplements. It's brilliant to see.
Thank you. We're trying. And Alan, thank you very much for joining us at such short notice. It's been really lovely to hear about your shed and to find out a little bit about you and to meet you. And thank you in the background there, JP by the 3D printers. He's our backroom man, so thanks, JP.
Nice to listen to you, Alan, and
that's really
nice
cool.
To have listened to all you do in your shed, and it was very, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, and it was great to connect with yourselves from Guernsey, a place I absolutely adore. Really, really adore it. It's like Middle England in the 50s, as far as I'm concerned. It's brilliant, so relaxing.
Yeah, it's very nice, especially with the sunshine like it is now.
Just thinking, actually, this is our third show, and I started our first show by saying hello from sunny Guernsey, because it was. Second week, it still was, and we've had a bit of a dodgy week this week, but it's sunny again. Right.
Can't beat it.
Oh, such a tonic, especially in these times of shutdown, with sort of a couple of hours of exercise out for a walk or something. It's so nice to be able to get out, and albeit a bit chilly at the moment, it is at least sunny, and that raises spirits, doesn't it? So wonderful. Thank you to Stuart and other Facebook users who didn't click the link to give us their name, and thank you, Dan. And I'm just looking up the list. Who else has interacted with us? Lee as well interacted with us earlier, and Andy Ryland and Mick Arthur. I don't know if you've stuck it out. We've got 8 people online at the moment. I don't know if you stuck it out to the end, but thank you everyone for your input, and we hope to see you again next week, 3 o'clock, hopefully 3 o'clock next Wednesday. And again, because I'm completely lacking preparedness, I haven't even got our closing title, so I'll just bump up a generic title and sort it out in a second. But adieu from Guernsey, from the SHEDcast, from Alan, Dave, and JP in the other room, and all the 3D printers. Stay safe, please. Keep yourself tucked away, and we'll see you next week. Bless you all. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Do.